Hi, my name is Minju Wine, and I'm the Technology Sector Director at the CMC here at the Fuqua School of Business. And today we'll be giving you an overview of the Technology Club and give you a glimpse of the various resources and the support that the club provides to the students. You're going to be juggling a lot as a student in this program, so the club is just one of the many resources that you have to provide you with the right tools to help you be set up for success. We have Diego and Ananya here, who are second-year students, and Diego is one of the co-presidents of the club, and Ananya is a cabinet member. And we'll have them introduce themselves.
Yeah, thank you, Minju. So as Minju mentioned, I'm Diego Alvarez. I am originally from Peru. I come from a background of finance and operations. I did that for almost 7 years before coming to Fuqua. And then when I came to Fuqua, I decided to kind of pivot into tech and focus on learning more and building my leadership skills. I ended up landing an internship in Dell for a product management position. And so that was the start of my journey towards pivoting to tech. And yeah, it's been a blast this second year.
Amazing. Hi, so my name is Ananya Sengupta. I'm from Singapore, but I'm ethnically Indian, which is why I look like this. Prior to Fuqua, I started my career in management consulting. I did that for about 4 years, and then I made a pivot into tech. I was working at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise for about a year. And after that experience, I decided I wanted to continue my learning and pursue my MBA, so that brought me here to Fuqua. Very happy to be here, and over the summer I worked at Microsoft as an account executive in Chicago, and I'm happy to say I'm actually going back next year, well, this year after I graduate, in New York City as an account executive as well.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing. Do you want to both give an overview to our attendees here on the club, as you know, both as a president and a cabinet member, of like the overview of what the club does, the purpose of the club, and some of the main things that you all put on throughout the year?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, of course. I can start with that one. So the Tech Club is basically a student-led organization that tries to give students all the tools that they need to be successful in their recruiting journey. And also get them more interested in the new trends and kind of generating that knowledge that is important to help you go through interviews, but also helps you kind of empower yourself to be more tech savvy and have those conversations that are interesting to us. We have a lot of cabinets. It's where we focus from the pipeline cabinet, which focuses on recruiting education, to Symposium and tracks. And yeah, I can go into more detail of what each one of those does.
We can get to that later.
So I think Diego covered the gist of it pretty clearly. Just to add on to that, we have like other functions as well. So I am a cabinet member for the education sector. So really we put on events that help the students understand a little bit more about the industry, get insights from people who've worked in there, and share that experiences with students so they can be more informed and educated about what they're getting into. This ranges from like recruiting advice to what's happening in the industry and what are the trends to look out for. So I think that's really where we're at the moment with that specifically. And I think beyond that, you covered pipeline, you covered tracks as well. Yeah.
So let's go a little bit more into that. Let's start with the Tech Symposium. Can you tell the attendees here like what the Tech Symposium is, 2024 in the fall, what the topic or the theme was, and how that planning went?
Yeah, of course. The Tech Symposium is a full-day event that we create each year to kind of connect people, students, with companies. We try to bring some companies to campus to talk about what they're doing in a specific topic. This year we talk about business implications of AI. We wanted to have a very detailed view of what different companies and industries are doing with AI, and how can we use that knowledge to help us get into those type of roles. The planning for that was long. We worked through the summer to get the best speakers that we could, and then this happened in September. And it's basically just a speaker series and some keynotes that we used in our LinkedIn page later.
Yeah. I think we have people from NVIDIA, Meta, Amazon. I'm trying to think of some Google.
Google,
Yes.
There were a lot of really good discussions from that symposium.
Yeah.
It was really well planned.
Thank
Yes.
you.
It was a really good event this year. I mean, I think Diego really covered most of it. The other thing is, I mean, it's a full day event, but it's just so much good information coming your way, and it's not just about the most basic things that are happening. I think you get a really good deep insight into what's directly happening and like in the industry itself and what these people bring to the table. I think it's a very good education opportunity. Then you get to network after as well, which I think is great for all the students just to immerse themselves. And happens pretty early on in the year as well when everyone's focused on these components as well. So I think timeline, preparation, etc. It's a really good event that the Tech Club hosts every year.
You were working through the summer
The
internship.
Yeah.
So you were juggling a lot. Let's talk a little bit about the tech trek that the students have every fall. Were you able to attend as a first year on the tech trek?
Yeah, I went on the first year. I remember if you.
I didn't.
Okay.
I was recruiting for investment banking as well as tech, so I was in the investment banking track
Got
at
it.
that time.
Doing parallel recruitment.
Parallel recruiting.
Which happens a lot. So the tech trek we do every fall, and we typically go to the Bay Area as well as Seattle. The students or the club likes to reach out to a lot of our alums in the big tech companies and have us on their campus to give them, to give the students as well as me a flavor of what the companies are really like, the different functions, the recruiting journey, and so forth. So from a student perspective, Diego, since you went on, did you go to both cities?
Yes, I went to the full track.
What did you find the most valuable on that trek?
I think my favorite part of the trek was getting to know the inside of the companies and speak with alumni that I kind of didn't know before going. Alumni in Fuqua are very open to help and have conversations, and they really want to see you succeed. And so when we went to each of the companies, they gave us a tour, and they also saved some time to speak with us and let us know like how can we get into the company, and also how can we succeed personally in technology. And they asked some hard questions regarding what you really want to do, what's really the position that you want to be in, and how can this company maybe help you do that, or if not, just the contact and that network help you build a career in different companies. So I think that connection was the most important part, and of course, traveling with friends is always super fun.
Yeah. What were some of the companies that you were able to visit?
We went to Google, Meta, Adobe, PayPal, Cisco, Salesforce. I'm missing
Amazon?
2 or 3. Amazon in Seattle, yes.
I think you also went to
And
Microsoft that year.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking Bay Area first. But yes, Seattle and Microsoft also.
Okay. Hopefully the weather cooperated.
It was, yes, Seattle, I've heard from a lot of people that it can be gloomy in the off season, but
Yeah.
it was beautiful. Like that fall, it was at least, we were lucky.
Awesome. I just want to make sure that the club obviously puts on a lot of great events like workshops and a lot of info sessions. So what are some of the most notable ones that actually stick out to you, whether they were alums or employers? I'd love to hear. I think everybody would love to hear what some of those events were.
I think one of the bigger, and you can go into the details for this, one of the bigger things that the Tech Club hosts every year is Pipeline. It's a series of sessions on different topics put together by the students. We have a specific team dedicated to just the Pipeline sessions, and they have a new topic to really discuss each week to prepare the students for the recruiting journey in the tech industry, compared to some of the other recruiting paths in, well, I'm assuming most business schools. Consulting and investment banking are very focused. You have a very fixed timeline, but tech doesn't really work that way. Different companies have different recruiting timelines. They start earlier, they start later, depending on the firm. So I think the Pipeline sessions are a really good way of giving that information that you might not necessarily know coming in to the MBA program, and then also helping you navigate what that journey looks like, whether it's immediately the next few weeks later or like a couple of months later up until the end of your first year. So I think that's the beauty of the Pipeline sessions. apart from that, I think other notable events have been really getting students to give and share their experiences. So in the fall session, the education team hosted a panel discussion for students. Like they brought in second-year students from different companies who interned in San Francisco, Seattle, and other parts to share their experiences over the summer, what their internship looked like. And it wasn't just students who did product management, it was students who did like marketing, maybe program management and other components, just to give a very holistic overview of what different roles in tech look like and what different internship experiences look like.
Yeah, I think you said most of it. I enjoy the pipelines because it's a way to give back. I took a lot from it last year, and just working on it for the next generation is pretty cool. There's always tweaks to do. But I think my favorites were the ones where we got to bring alumni to campus or online, because they give you a different perspective, a long-term perspective of what your career can look like. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure getting to the MBA, getting that internship, and thinking that that's kind of where you're going to be for the rest of your life. And the reality is that your career is so long. Like we have at least 30 years more of being very productive. And so when you think about it in that way, and alumni can give you that perspective, you kind of feel empowered to do more things and try new things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you covered it, but just to add on the alumni side, they are incredibly helpful. I think even when I was there in the summer, the alums had a full group chat, Teams channel specifically for students. Not just for students, but specifically for Duke alum. And it's not just Duke, broader Duke, but even Fuqua. And we're all in that one group, and they were all super helpful. They went out of their way to meet the students who were coming in over the summer, and then they took the time out to really give you advice if you wanted that from them. And like Diego said, I completely agree. It's not just about what you do now and immediately after graduation. It's helping you plan the next 10, 15 year, and I think that's really valuable, and the alums are great when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think kind of going off of the community aspect of it, for both alums, I definitely have seen some alums who are very proactive in saying, hey, I'm coming to campus, I'd love to share my story, or how can I help the current students who are going through this program at the moment. And also the ones where, we reach out and they're very responsive and they're very much willing to help and be really supportive. I think the other side of that is amongst yourselves, amongst both first years and the second years. Can you speak a little bit more about how you give each other support throughout the year, and what does that really look like?
Yeah, I can start with that one. I think the first first time you meet the second years as a first year is when the pipeline session starts, and that sets up the race of what recruiting is going to look like. But through the first year, you kind of get those connections and start talking to people. And second years are normally pretty open with their time to schedule something. One tip that I always kind of give about this is you try to make genuine connections with people, because when it gets transactional, that's when it's unsuccessful. I think people at Fuqua have that power, that characteristics, where they really want to meet each other and know a little bit more about what everyone's journey is, and that builds the base of the relationship that then can help you maybe interview prep or mock a case and do other things.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think from my perspective, one thing that really happened in my experience, I was always very open to giving back, especially because I had a lot of experience prior to coming to Fuqua that helped me be successful at Fuqua as well when it came to not just recruiting, but in general. And I think being able to share that, whether it's through the tech club, independently as a student, or through my other activities, whether it's FCCP or as a career fellow, etc. I think I was very open to giving and sharing what I had to bring to the table. And it might not necessarily work for everybody because everyone's experience and journey is different. But at least if I can share that, if they get something out of it. I think that's what really stood out for me. So my first interactions with students started immediately after I came back from the summer. Students were like reaching out to me via Slack or like other means and asking, hey, like, can we have a chat? Can I talk about your experience? So I was more than happy to like give them my time and talk about it. And then as the term went on, obviously you get to interact with first years more through tech club sessions or any other activities that you're involved in on campus. And whenever they asked me for help when it comes to like interview prep or just like, hey, can you look at my resume? I took the time out. I did that because I know I had an incredible support system coming into it, and I had my parents, I had like really successful people around me who rallied to help me be successful. And I think my mentality is, as much as what I got, I want to be that for the students coming in or anybody else, whether it's my peers. And that's how I went about it.
I love that. We've got some questions coming in here. So let's see. I got one from Ranak. What are some positive traits of students who have successfully recruited for tech jobs recently? And 2, what are some resources available for aspiring tech entrepreneurs in the long term, say 15 years after graduating? Do you want to speak on number 1, the positive traits of students who have successfully recruited for tech jobs recently?
Yeah, I have an opinion.
Go for it.
I think the people that are the most successful with recruiting in general are the ones that are very thoughtful and mindful about what they're doing. There's a belief that just sending as many resumes as possible is a good strategy, and it gives you peace of mind, but it also takes you away from your real goal. And as I said before, this is a long-term journey, so you have to kind of think, what would take me closer to that end goal that I have? And people that really think about it and tailor their resumes and tailor their stories and connect thoughtfully with people and students and alumni, those are the ones that really get the most out of it, even if they're not successful in the recruiting journey so far, because luck plays a good part of it. Those are the ones that, even if they don't have the job yet, they build that community, they build that relationship, and they build that kind of muscle that will get them there in a couple of months. Or
They're more intentional and strategic with their approach and what they want.
Yeah. That's
Ananya?
fair. I think intentionality is a big thing. I completely agree with that. I think another component to really keep in mind, and it's a little contradictory, is to also be a little more open-minded when it comes to the process. I think when you come in, there's just so much happening all at once. And peer pressure is also part of it. You see everybody rushing to do their recruiting journey, whether it's consulting or IB or entrepreneurship, and coming in and seeing all these things happening, it puts people into a mindset being like, oh, I need to run as fast as I can so I don't get left behind. But I think it's very confusing to be in that mindset, and I think having some sort of intentionality, but also being open-minded about opportunities that you might not have considered before, but seem like a good fit for your skill sets and what you bring to the table. I think that really helps. Just because you're now looking at not just, oh, I want only this, but I also have these other qualities that I can bring from my experiences, these things that make me shine as a candidate. And I think being able to transfer that over, I think that's a good way to look at it. The other thing I would say is, and this is specifically to interviewing, not getting to the process of the interview, but one thing that I saw is really successful and was successful for me as well is going above and beyond just the basics of why you want to work for this company, why specific roles. I think doing your due diligence, doing the research to figure out like, okay, what is this company investing their time and resources into? What are they saying in the earnings reports? What's important to them? I think getting a really good idea of what that looks like is super helpful in being successful in your interviews, because then the person who's on the other side of the table gets to see that you're not just genuinely, you're interested not just in this role, but in being a part of something bigger, and in terms of like driving towards the mission of the firm as well.
Yeah.
And it shows genuine interest beyond the basics, I think.
Absolutely.
That's what I would say.
So the second question that we had was about tech entrepreneurs. We do have a coach who is concentrated on entrepreneurships and startups. And so I think Josh Cohen is the career coach, and he would be a great resource. There's Duke I&E, right?
Yes.
Innovation and entrepreneurship. So there is definitely a lot of buzz around that. So that is something that the students can tap more into while you're here in the program. Let me see if there are some other... Oh, here's another really good question, kind of going off of that. Club's orientation is focused on big tech, or also for startups, employment, and tech entrepreneurship. I think we can kind of expand a little bit more on just not saying startups, but maybe small to medium-sized companies, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, do you want to start us off, Diego?
Yeah, I can start with that one. So definitely the companies that are bigger have a more structured path, even though tech is very unstructured. They have a process that you know of, and that's what in Pipeline we try to train you towards. But most of the training can apply to smaller companies. And when you look at how you want to get your foot into tech, especially if you don't have the background, these big companies normally want you to have some type of experience doing the role that you're going to be doing in the internship or in the full-time. And so focusing on the smaller ones and the medium ones, that is a strategic choice that can help you first get to know a company that could be doing pretty cool things, but also that will be more open to teach you and to carry you through the journey. The only caveat to that is if you are an international student and you're looking into sponsorship, there's a myth that medium companies and smaller companies don't sponsor. That's not true. They can sponsor, and that's a conversation that you can have if you network first, if you kind of talk to people and
Find advocates.
And the Career Center also gives you a list of smaller companies that have sponsored in the past, so that can be your starting point. But I think no company is close to having that conversation if you get to that part of the process.
What about you, Ananya?
I think Diego more or less covered it. I think I don't really have much to add to that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the big tech companies, the club does a really good job of saying, Amazon, this is typically how they like to roll. This is what their recruiting process looks like, and Microsoft and so forth. So there is a little bit of this, in comparison to consulting and iBanking. You're right that it probably looks a little bit less structured, but they have their own song and dance, right?
Yes.
And so the club provides the right tools, and the second years share a lot of their experiences to kind of help hone that in. When it comes to everything else, like the other tech companies, I think it is a lot more what you'll hear is a custom search, and where you have to be a lot more, I think, proactive and also be creative, where you are seeking out a lot of other companies beyond just big tech, because there's a lot out there, and where you have to put in the work to reach out to the right people, to find advocates, to kind of get your foot in the door that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I join the tech club or attend events as a GEMBA or a WEMBA candidate? I think the short answer is yes.
Yes.
You can. You can definitely be a member of the club, and there are, I think, a lot of events where it is open to GEMBA and WEMBA students, but some events are restricted to just the full-time, daytime MBA students.
Just to add to that, for GEMBA and WEMBA students, we definitely see that there's a big opportunity to kind of build that relationship. And I had a couple of conversations this year where people were interested in participating. And so for the next cohort, because I'm graduating in May, for the next cohort, that's probably an avenue to explore and grow, because there's a lot of knowledge and knowledge and experience that can come from those programs to the daytime and the other way around.
And this is a really good question. How can I contribute to the tech club as a first-year student? So what are some of the opportunities that first-year students can have on the club in leadership positions?
Yes. Coming back from the summer break for us, we start the process to recruit first-year cabinet members who are going to help us planned some things, although most of it is planned during the summer. There's some like logistics that we need to figure out that first years can help us with. And then communication is the second thing where we really need the first years to be part of. Because once we have the pipeline and the symposium, we need people from that cohort to kind of spread the word and give us feedback on what worked in the event, what didn't, and how can we improve it for their cohort. So there's cabinet positions, to make it short, and then from those cabinet positions, most of the work comes from communicating, receiving feedback, processing feedback, and helping us. We understand first year is very busy, so we don't want to give you more than you can kind of handle, but it's also the feedback is so important for us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just to add my 2 cents to that, I think Diego already covered most of it. But I think involvement also depends on what it means to you. Even if you can't be involved as a cabinet member, there are always avenues to like do day of involvement if you want to volunteer for the symposium, if you want to help with a specific event, if you have ideas for the tech club. I think that also helps. That counts as contribution as well. And it's your journey. It's what you decide how to make of it.
Here's another good question. I was wondering about the various ways to network with tech companies in areas like San Francisco. I am excited to learn about things like tech checks and etc. Do you want to answer that?
I can go for it. Networking, I would say one of the first avenues I've seen students really reach out to is starting with their second years, because they've been working in the summer, they have some experience to bring to the table, and it's more personalized because you were in this position a year ago. So I think first years start off first with the second years. They try to get a sense of what that looks like. And then they ask, oh, hey, do you know anybody else in the company that'll be a really good person for me to connect with? And most people end up connecting with somebody else in the firm as well. Outside of just the immediate Duke network, I think one of the alums actually was saying you can always reach out via LinkedIn. You don't necessarily have to like block 30 minutes of their time. You can just like send a note saying, hey, I'm really interested in this. Would love to have like your opinion on it. And most people do respond and give you their time of the day so you can share that experience as well. And I think tapping into your personal networks, even outside of Fuqua, is a really good way to go about it. That's what I tended to do. It's not specifically related to just people in the United States. If I knew somebody in a firm, even in a different region, I'd reach out to them and ask for their perspective, because at the end of the day, they're still part of those companies and they have something of value to share, even if they're not in that region. So yeah, that's been my 2 cents.
I think the club creates opportunities for, when we are hosting events or networking sessions or even the symposium, but it's also very much expected of the student to be doing the proactive networking as well and leveraging the Duke network as well as their own personal network to do so. So it's kind of, it goes both ways, I think. We only have a couple minutes. I think to end the conversation, I would love to hear how, either you have personally interacted or received support from the CMC, or, how the club likes to interact with the CMC and provide support in that way.
Yeah, from a club perspective, and I'm going to try to be brief, we have meetings every week or every 2 weeks to kind of understand where the vibe of the class is right now, understand where they would need most help, like students.
You mean
between CMC and the co-presidents.
Yes.
We meet every week.
Not the club.
Not the club completely.
And not all the students.
And not all the students. But co-presidents and means you meet each week to kind of plan what are the new things that we can bring to add value to our students. And then as a student, the career coach is basically my therapist, my support group, my accountability buddy. You can make that relationship with your coach what you need it to be. There's great advice to come from that and great tools to kind of manage and go through that journey. But it's also just like networking itself driven. Like you need to approach that coach and you need to build that relationship to make it work. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think Diego covered like the core aspects of it. Just a few more things. I think I completely agree. Your relationship with your CMC coach is really what you make of it. For me, it was incredibly helpful when I got my interviews. I came directly and I asked like for support, saying, "Hey, like this is what I have in the next 2 weeks. Can you please give me guidelines in terms of how I should navigate it? Any advice you may have?" When I got an offer as well, I ran that past it, saying, "Is this a good offer? Should I negotiate?" And just like getting general feedback was really helpful for me. Also because it's such a bubble, it's really nice to have an outsider's perspective, someone who's not immediately invested in your journey. I mean, like it's not that they're not, but they have a third-party perspective, and I think that really helps you take a step back and look at it more objectively. And then I think apart from that, the CMC is just a great resource to kind of help you stay more grounded, reassure you when you feel like there's too much going on and you're overwhelmed. I think that's been incredibly helpful. And then they also set up so many events and resources for us to not only just prepare for recruiting, but as for like the MBA program as a whole. I think that's been really helpful from my standpoint.
Great to hear. I also want to point out that you're not limited to just one coach.
Yes.
You can, even if because you may be interested in tech and then maybe consulting, and you're kind of thinking through a lot of different avenues. And so you can speak to many coaches kind of at once. So you're not limited to just one.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely did that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, I think we're coming up on time. So thank you so much for your questions. Thank you, Diego and Ananya. Thank you all so much for joining in. We hope you found it to be really helpful. And if you have any other questions, I think you know how to reach us on the website. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for all joining us.